With so many people coming in and out of the podcast studio, aka my living room, it is important that we keep Tucker smelling good and looking handsome. Thank goodness we discovered Coat Defense's daily preventative powder. It works like a dry shampoo and it eliminates the bacteria that causes odor in the first place. And unlike a typical deodorant or spray, Coat Defense is healthier. It doesn't mask odor, it eliminates it. Tucker's friends at Coat Defense are offering you 15% off to try this daily preventative powder or any of the other awesome products they offer for your pet's health. Just use code MAMA15 at checkout. All right, Julie, I'm so tickled to get to talk to you because it was so fun while you were on season 45 of Survivor as a local female that I could relate to kind of watch your journey and be like, oh my goodness, we get to cheer for someone locally from the season. So has it been really fun to see people's reactions and kind of the hometown thing of being a part of it?
Yes. And it's a surprise. Only because I didn't think through that part. This was just, I'm going to be on Survivor and I'm going to play this game. And I was so focused on that it never occurred to me the after effects on me being on TV. And then if you did watch my season, which I appreciate it, I'm very proud of our show and our season, but I'm not in it much the first couple episodes as far as the edits go, which makes sense because I have a bigger part to play that, ties in with the timeline. Later on. And they can't show... If the show was all about me, it'd be fabulous. Like, I would love it if you could see my journey.
Yeah.
But I think everybody would feel that way. There's 18 of us, and we all played 100%.
Yeah.
But they can't show 100% of each of our journeys.
Of everybody's journey, yeah.
So I didn't know what was going to be shown every episode.
Well, and I was just asking, I was so curious about the whole process, which, in getting to talk to people who are involved with reality television, I always have so many curious questions about the behind the scenes of it. But I did not realize that until America, tunes into CBS to watch it every week, you haven't seen it either.
Exactly.
So you had no idea what parts would be used, how they would kind of highlight your specific journey on there, right? So would you get a little nervous before?
No, it was a lot of anxiety before the show.
Did you want to watch it by yourself or?
A lot of times, but then I have a very large family. Okay. So yes, born and raised here in Brentwood.
Yeah.
Graduate from Brown Academy,
local
school here in town. And I still have family that's here in town. So my parents are here. Two of my sister lives in Seattle. She's the only one that's not here. I have two younger brothers. One married, his kids, my kids. But my sister who lives in Seattle, 3 of her kids go to Lipscomb University.
Oh, so they're here too. Okay.
They're here as well. I've got cousins in town, aunts. Literally, my just family could be 22 people.
Oh, wow.
And that's without inviting other people into the process.
So you had watch parties and the whole thing, or
yes.
No? Okay.
Yes. So that was one thing that especially I wanted towards the end when I knew what was going to happen, and that I was like, okay, I'm going to be by myself and watch it. And they're like, no, you're not.
Yeah. Well, that's so funny because one of my dear friends, her daughter was on The Bachelor.
Okay.
And we were all like, let's have a watch party and let's get together. We could not wait. And she's like, I can't deal. So she had to be by herself and I
thought about it, except I have fabulous children. My daughter would be like, this is a once in a lifetime, Mom. We're going to take advantage of this.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you did.
Let's have fun.
Yeah.
So I'd get through it, except watching it the first time, it was almost like reliving it.
Wow.
Honestly. It's like, because memories are an interesting thing.
Yeah.
And I think I know how things went. And then I'd watch it and I'd be like, wow, I really thought that I said something way cooler then. Really thought that I was better at that. And then you'd watch it, so it was reliving it. And then normally I'd find some time in the next 48 hours to watch it again by myself.
Oh, okay. So you kind of did both, really.
Did. And it was more about, because when I do the watch parties, it was more about who else was there.
Yeah.
And I make an experience for them.
Yeah.
Because that's how fun to know somebody.
I know. Yeah,
I was like, this
so
is
fun.
not really about me. This is just like, let's have a fun experience
Yeah.
for everyone. So that's how I made it through.
You had been a fan of the show for a long time, right? Watching
Yes.
it. What was it about, like the concept of these people being pushed to extremes that appealed to you? And I think I told you that, like, I'm someone who would watch Survivor and say, oh my goodness, these people are crazy. What would make them want to go do that? You know, my biggest challenge in life has been starting this podcast. Like,
Which
that's
is
just
big.
but not anything like that. Like, what on earth?
That's such a good question, especially, I mean, I'm still friends with my high school friends. Like I do the next step. I do my duty. I do what's responsible, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a very responsible person. And I think it was the timing of it on what rang true for me. And that was, I was 40 years old, recently single, found myself with a seventh grader, and a fifth grader, I believe at the time. And I had gone back to law school. So we are busy. There is not, I'm teaching art classes out of my house. My previous career, I was a muralist and I did art classes.
Wow.
And so I would do that, plus go to night school. I went to National School of Law. So I
To
was
go to
going
law school.
to go
Okay.
to law school at night.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't have many times off. But Wednesday nights, I did not have class. So I remember ironing and between studying, and I turned the TV on, and it was 2015 Cambodia, which is, they had brought, it was like Second Chance Survivor, where they had survivors that didn't win
People
in the
that
past
came
and
back.
they came back. And I'm watching this show. I just remember, and I was hooked. I think it was a really good season. You should go and watch it if you haven't. It's really good. But I was intrigued also because they had what they called old school survivors from beginning, early days. I mean,
Previous
Survivor
seasons.
has been around for so long.
Yeah, you were, I mean, season 45.
45.
I can't even wrap my head around that it's been around that long.
Exactly. So you had some old school survivors who, when they played, it was about surviving, shelter, finding food.
Yeah.
Like protect yourself from the elements.
Staying alive.
Staying alive. Which, of course, not that ever changes because we still have all those elements. But then you had more the newer, more recent players are like, this is also it would brought more strategy into
I was going
it.
to say more of a game and strategy as I feel like the show progressed.
Exactly. So yeah, you hit the beach. You got old school that's like, all right, let's survive. New school, it's like, sure, let's win the million. And they're immediately strategizing. And it was watching old school versus new school. Everything about it I loved. And I remember calling my kids in. I said, all right, pick your person. Who do you relate to? How would you play? This is life. Y'all are about to enter high school. You got to pick your alliances.
Wow.
Who do you trust? Who do you not trust? How do you play? How do you maneuver life? And that was just it hit me. And I was like, I knew then.
Yeah.
I really think I knew that.
Really?
I was like, I'm going to be on this show.
You're like, I could do this.
I don't lie in real life. I'm an attorney. I'm currently a trust and wealth advisor at Pinnacle. Like, it's a new career change for me since I've been back. But my entire career and life is built on relationships and trust and honesty. And that's very important to me. And it was more about the social aspect of it, on how do you get people to do what you want them to do?
Yeah.
How do you, because we're all projecting an image. We're all trying to get people to do something. So even if we're as upfront and loyal as I'd like to be, we're still gaming. I just feel like we're all putting on. And I was
Such
like,
a cool correlation. Yeah.
and that's just when I could do it. So fast forward years to me constantly watching the show, loving it. Would I do that? Would I do that?
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say this, but I really did fast forward a lot of the challenges because they stressed me out and I didn't watch them, which I feel like I should have watched more of.
Would have been a little more prepared.
They were so hard. But then my kids go off to school. My daughter has graduated from Vanderbilt, but she went to Vanderbilt. Then my son, he's a senior at Vanderbilt. My daughter's getting her master's in counseling right now at Lipscomb. And my son is a senior at Vanderbilt, and he just got accepted to Vanderbilt Law School. So
Amazing.
I'm thinking he might be in town for another 3 years. So once they're out of the house, it was like, okay, if I did do Survivor, they wouldn't miss me. They wouldn't even know.
Being gone for, such an extensive...
Being their mom has been my number one priority.
Yeah.
Like, I would never, even though they're adults, when they're in high school and college, I'm still going to be there. Mm-hmm. Even though they can go weeks and not call me, which they always check in and that. And you want to be there for them, but it's a different phase of life. But they're my number one. So once they were taken care of, I remember, and then COVID hit, and then it was after COVID.
Yeah.
And I told my daughter, I said, all right, help me put together a video application.
Is that how you did it? You made a video?
I made a video. Because Jeff Probst comes on TV after every episode, and he says, apply today. I was like, okay, Jeff, I'm doing it. And my daughter helped, and she put it together. And I still remember being so stressed out before I just hit enter. She's got a picture of me, apply.
Hitting the button.
And she was like, why are you so stressed out about this? It's going to go out, and they're got thousands to watch, and that's going to be the end. I was like, you don't understand. We hit send. I'm going to be on Survivor.
Yeah, and you had felt it from so long before that one day you'd be on that show. Okay, tell me what it was like when you got the phone call or the email, or how do they tell you? I'm sure there's a process.
There is a process. Everybody's process is different. So I think if you ask somebody, they send in a video, maybe they got a call, and their process begins immediately. Mm-hmm. I got the attention of a producer, so I got an email back.
Okay.
After a couple months.
Okay.
And it was like,
a couple months went by.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was, nothing. And then I get an email saying, hey, if you're still interested, would you fill out this form? And I immediately, it was 10:30 at night, and I got this email, and I immediately start blowing up my phone to my brothers. I'm like, are you punking me? This is not funny. And they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. So I was like, oh my goodness. So I responded. I ended up getting a phone call with her. Lovely conversation. It was great. She ended up texting me right after a clarification because I was telling her my story about how I even loved Survivor and how I became an attorney. And I mentioned... I refer to my ex-husband as my husband.
Oh, okay.
And I had mentioned that. I said I was in mediation with my husband, and that's when I wanted. And so she texted, and I still remember it, because she said, did you say husband? And I said, and I texted back yes, and she was like, that's funny. But then I didn't hear anything, so I'm thinking I didn't fit. I don't know how it works on their side. But now I had her cell number.
Oh.
And I blew it up all the time.
Did you really?
I say all the time. It was not inappropriate, I don't think. But, every month or every 2 months or sometime, I'd throw her a text and she'd ghost me.
Yeah.
And it would get to the point that was a little embarrassing because my daughter was like, Mom, this is getting embarrassing. And I'm like, Taylor, I understand. In real life, if someone ghosts you, you let them be. This is not real life. This is Survivor, and I'm going to be on it. She just doesn't know it yet. So, and I still remember, I think when I turned 48, I said, hello, I just turned 48. Just wanted you to know that my birthday wish is to be a sole survivor before I'm 50. I remember her saying, okay, let's make that happen.
She responded to you?
She responded to that one. And which is just like, it's like getting your big toe in the door. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the hardest because they are so busy. And it's not just up to that producer. Then you got to get another, she was like, send me another
layers,
video.
I'm sure.
There's layers, and there's a very long, big process.
Okay, tell me where you were so you've been through the process. There's all the layers, the people, the different parts of it. So the next thing is you get the phone call that says you're on the show. Where were you and what was your reaction?
I was teaching an art class. I was doing my niece's art birthday party. So I was there, paint on my hands, and we're walking through how to paint. I can't remember what we were painting at the time, but I got a call from producer saying that they needed more footage, needed something else for the process. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, I can be home at whatever time. And so I got back, I went home, I put on a blue shirt so it would look good, and I was like ready to make some more. Who else I had to please? And I never knew what stage I was at. Never knew. And she got on and she said, so Julie, you're actually here because I need to tell you that you're on the cast of season 45 Survivor.
Oh my goodness.
And I think I know I screamed so loud that I broke the audio system for a moment. Like it all, she was like, Julie, you're too high pitched, because I lost my mind.
Were you on a Zoom?
I was on a Zoom.
Okay.
So I think you can see that somewhere on my Instagram. Like they show me like processing it, freaking out. It was amazing. It was amazing. I was like part of me knew it, but then you're also like, what is happening? What have I done? So it was all very fabulous.
So cool.
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask you a couple more questions about the Survivor process, but then I really want to talk to you as a mom,
Yes.
as a woman who really pivoted in her
Yes.
life. And I want to talk about kind of what led to that. But back to Survivor. Okay, so these are just like the girlfriend questions, right?
Yes.
Okay, what was the hardest day you had of your 24 days, right?
I think I made it 24 days.
24 days. And the winner made it 26. So, girl, you were
winner,
almost
yes.
there.
Amazing how hard it was to get from final 5 to make it to that jury.
Yeah.
That was really hard. And I obviously didn't make it. So hardest day was definitely night 10.
Okay.
There was just torrential rainstorms that night. I wish we got airtime of that. It was so terrible.
What was your shelter?
It was basically non-existent by the middle of the night. The shelter that we did build, you got palm fronds up there. It could not hold.
Not that type of rain. Yeah.
It couldn't. And I'm trying to think of who was on my team at the time. That was when I was with Sifu, D, me, Jay, and that was when Sean was with us.
Okay.
So that was night 10. All I remember is shivering in the freezing cold all night long. And I remember just lying there thinking, wow, a second is really long. A minute is so long. And doing that for hours. And just like we were all like on each other just shivering. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I want to call it. And I was like, I'm not going to call it. Like if these guys can stay, I can stay.
But you had thoughts.
Oh my gosh, well, through the whole thing. Because, I know our season had 2 quits. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's more of a testament to all those of us that stayed more than anything against them for quitting. It's just harder than I even thought. And I'm a huge fan.
Right.
So it's just really, really hard. So I am more proud of myself than I can even tell you.
Wow, you should be. That's incredible.
Did it.
Yeah.
And I stayed. And I do remember, I think that was... They show us lining up and we were to play for reward, and that's when we played for fish. They were going to bring us some really big fish that we could, and I just still remember, and we're just all of us sitting there shaking, and we at least could try to build fire after that, but everything was soaked. And I was sad for the tribes that didn't even have fire at that point. It was just so hard. And I'm thinking, okay, fish is a fabulous reward, but I don't know how we're going to get it cooked. And we're so cold and tired. Oh, we gotta skin it and all of that I could do.
All the things, yeah.
So we did all of it. It took hours, but it was hard to get a reward that took extra work.
Yeah.
So even in that, it was the hardest thing.
Yeah.
It's so funny because now I think about how I forwarded challenges because I was like, okay, that's really hard, and not thinking through that because I was so into the gameplay part of it.
Right.
So to actually live it, and I don't think 49 is that old.
No.
Like, I'm out there, but to be the oldest one out there, and I'd forget that.
We haven't mentioned that. You were the oldest contestant on that season.
On that season.
On that season.
I was like, come on, this is not that old.
Exactly.
But I was. So I was like, I am not giving up after, before
Well,
these
and you
guys.
quickly became known as Mama J, which is quite appropriate for our podcast. So.
Isn't that so funny?
Yeah.
I do. When I first said it, it was day 1. And to be honest, we'd just gotten to the beach in our tribe, and I had to pee. So badly. And I'm like, and it's occurring to me, oh my gosh, I just have to pee.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere, we had to, we pick a place as a tribe to say, hey, stay out of that area because that's where we're going.
It wasn't like you could raise your hand on day one and say, where's the restroom?
Where's the restroom?
Life is a funny thing. I'm always amazed at how just when I think I'm keeping all the balls in the air and juggling everything just fine, boom, it seems that the balls are bouncing all over the place and I'm overwhelmed once again. That's when talking to a professional offers invaluable perspective to help me keep everything emotionally in check. BetterHelp is online therapy with a licensed therapist that you are matched with after a brief questionnaire. Everything is entirely online. BetterHelp can help you be the best version of yourself. Visit BetterHelp.com/mymomma today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/mymomma. If you haven't tried Barefaced skincare, let me encourage you to switch up your routine and see the difference. Use the code MAMA15 to try any products for 15% off your first purchase. You might want to check out the Jennifer's Favorites bundle. This bundle includes the Liquid Gold Vitamin C Serum and the Barefaced Hydrating Lotion. I use both of these twice daily and I love them. When you purchase the bundle, you will receive the travel size toning pads as a free gift with purchase. I'll put the link to order in the show notes, or you can just visit barefaced.com and search the word Jennifer. Don't forget you can use code MAMA15 to receive that 15% off your first purchase with Barefaced. Able offers thoughtfully designed apparel, denim, shoes, handmade jewelry, and leather bags that you can feel good about wearing. Each piece is manufactured in the communities where Able makes an impact, including neighborhoods right here in Nashville, Tennessee, and around the world. I love that women comprise more than 90% of the staff at Able, and Able has been able to see firsthand how providing women with safe and dignified jobs has the power to change not only their families, but entire communities. Use the code MAMA20 for 20% off your first purchase site-wide when you visit ableclothing.com.
So I just was like, and they're all wanting to say, hey, let's talk. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because I'm still like all anxious and I don't know how I'm supposed to just take off and go pee somewhere.
Yeah.
So I have a very shy bladder. So that was all in my head when everybody's introducing themselves. And when Jay Maya said, well, you can call me Jay. And it's all so many emotions. And my sister calls me Jay. And I said, oh, my sister calls me Jay. And Sifu had already made a comment about me being a mom. And I said, you can just call me Mama Jay. The minute it was out of my mouth, I went, what have I done? Because I didn't want to pigeonhole myself. Mm-hmm. Like is that the role
the
that I want to
nurturing
take?
mom?
Like, am I really want to box myself into that? But it was already out. And they were like, oh, Mama Jay. And I don't even think Sifu ever called me Mama Jay. He just called me Mama. He just called me Mama, and that was it. And I was like, what have I done? And I went, all right, it's done. And I just leaned into it.
What is the grossest thing you had to do in your 24 days?
So I did eat a worm. I did. I actually, and it's so gross to think about now. I mean, we're sitting here.
Did you just swallow it or chew? Like what?
Oh, I just swallowed it. Like it was... I think someone split it. And I was like, give it to me. Swallowed, done. And I think, like, if you Google it, worms are like 70% protein. But I was like, there's no Google out here. We're saying this is 80% protein, and I'm doing it. And I was so hungry.
You didn't care at that point.
Didn't even think about it. I just went, can we get some more? Like, it was so... that was gross. But it didn't seem gross at the time. I was just like, no, if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do.
You were surviving. For sure.
So it was a different mindset. It was.
So 24 days. Okay, so you fly in, you know, you're about to start this. What is that last shower like, knowing that you're not getting another one until the end?
It's a good question. I just think, I hardly even thought about that.
But am I right? Like, you don't really have what do you jump in?
We go in the ocean.
Yeah.
And we call that, let's go take a shower.
Okay.
And so we're on the ocean and we use the sand as exfoliate. And I mean, because those mud challenges when we're like climbing through the mud.
Yeah, those were like, and
hard.
you were covered, girl.
And it was so hard. And so getting back, we'd help each other if you couldn't find the spots. But we just exfoliated and we did the sand. But
the question I should probably ask is the first shower after.
Now, the first shower after was amazing because, I never washed my hair.
Yeah.
For 24 days.
Oh, wow.
And even now, like I could think I probably have like little strands, like you just lose a little hair. But there was nowhere for that to happen. So that first shower had a wad of hair because it was just all there.
Oh, wow.
And that was scary because I'm like, am I losing my hair? Which there could be some of that.
Or the malnutrition.
That was my first thought. I was like,
Yeah.
what? So as much as I want to say that first shower was fabulous, honest to goodness, it was a real hard thing to be by myself. It's like I got back to Ponderosa, which is where, the jury hangs out. And then, which was one of my favorite nights. Everybody's hanging out and I get to fill them in on what they don't see. And it's so much fun. And then I go to, they're like, all right, you get your own bedroom, your own shower. And I was like, okay, bye guys. Bye. Are you sure? Like, don't we want to just all hang out? Like,
we all had bonded in such a special way
and
that
you're just used to always being with somebody. And you're scared to be by yourself. It's like, y'all gonna talk about me? Y'all gonna talk about me?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's just a weird. So, like, in my room by myself, I was like, okay, I'm done. Let's go back and hang out. And even when I got home, I still remember when I got home, I'd be hanging out with everybody, and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go in the other room, check on the dog, and they're like, sure, Mom. Okay.
You
I'm
don't
like,
have to tell
okay,
us
I'm gonna
that.
go down. I'm gonna go use the restroom. I'll be right back. And they're like, why are you telling us where you're gonna be?
There's a transition.
And I'm like, I just need you to know. Don't talk about me while I'm gone.
To your own
and I'll
kids.
be right back to my whole family. And everyone's like, we don't need to know where you are every minute. So it was just a weird transition coming back.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's go back to the more personal side of your story, which of course Survivor was such an incredible experience for you.
So fun.
And great job. I mean,
Seriously,
thank you. You should be so proud of all the 24 days of that.
Thank you.
So you are in the process of going through a divorce. There's something called mediation, which is no fun.
No.
You're in the midst of going through that. What was it about that process that made you think, or had you always wanted to be an attorney?
No.
Not at all. That had not. You were teaching art classes.
I was teaching art classes.
Yeah.
I had a mural career, art classes.
What made you think you could do
My
this?
number one goal as a mom was always be there for my kids.
Yeah.
So the careers leading up to that were, how do I make money, but also be available for my kids?
Yeah.
So mural career started when my daughter was 2 years old because I went to her nursery care and I said, hey, can I paint on your walls? And they were like, sure. And then when I was done, they were like, hey, can you do more? I said, yeah, but now you have to pay me. And they were like, okay. And that just led into more. And then I taught art classes out of my house. And then I was actually a nanny when we lived in Birmingham to 4 extra kids.
Oh, wow.
And so I had 6 children for 4 years. And they were just around the clock, 6, they from kindergarten to 4th grade. And I had them as they moved up. And always did that kind of thing. So then I showed up to mediation. They kept me waiting for a while. And then one associate or someone came up and said, oh my gosh, are you Julie Alley? I was like, yeah. And they're like, sorry, we kept you waiting. We thought you were the new associate in the office. I said, I am 39 years old. How could I be the new associate? Yes. And all I did was spend the whole time with my attorney saying, where can I go to law school? What do you think? And she's telling me about National School of Law. And I'm like, it was like I knew then. Like I knew I was going to be on Survivor after. Like I just went, I'm going to be an attorney.
Wow.
And I remember calling my mom who's watching my kids. And she's like, how's mediation going? I said, forget mediation. I'm going to be an attorney. And she went, yes, you are. I said, no, yes, I am. She goes, no, yes, you are. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
So I took the LSAT, I applied, I got in, and next 4 years, which seemed like the longest time in the world. Like 4 years. But I was like, no, start now. Let's do it.
Was there some sort of like justice thing in you
No.
though about like,
No.
not even that, not like,
No.
oh, mediation was awful, I want to make it better. You wanted to be a world changer.
No,
Like,
I wish it was that. No, it was all about my kids.
okay.
Always about my kids.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, teaching art classes, doing what I do was feast or famine. But like lower economy feast and famine. And I was like, I'm going to be single and I need a better career. And I'm good at school. I love school.
You like school.
Oh my goodness.
Did you have a college degree in what?
I have a college degree in Spanish.
Oh, in
I was a
Spanish.
Spanish major.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I didn't always know what I wanted to do, but I thought, man, you could do a lot with a law degree, was more what I thought. And I really just wanted a career that I would be taken care of, that my kids wouldn't worry about me. I was like, I didn't know they were going to end up going to Vandy and staying in town, but I wanted them to have the freedom to go far.
Yeah.
Go away. I'm like, don't worry about mom.
Yeah. You want to
So
provide it.
I started, and 4 years graduated.
You were 40 years old when you started law school, am I right?
Yes.
Wow.
So at 44, I graduated. Within the same, I think it was just a week apart that my daughter graduated high school.
Wow.
So we've got cute cap and gown pictures together. So I'm like, you go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be okay. And she ended up going to Vanderbilt, and my son went to Vanderbilt. So they've spoiled me.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, now you can't leave.
Exactly.
You had your
Yeah.
choice. You
Everybody's
had your chance,
right here. Yeah.
But now they're here.
That's pretty special. I love
So-
that your mom immediately was just like, if that's what you say you're going to do, then you're going to do
Oh,
it. And I believe
immediately.
in you. What kind of impact and influence has she been? I understand she kind of pivoted a little bit later in life as well.
She did as well. She actually, because I think she was always said yes to things and always supported me. She got her master's in counseling when I was younger. And then I do remember my sister actually skipped her senior year of high school and got into Vanderbilt. Very smart.
Wow.
And so she left a little early, and I just remember my mom, what I've got, my sister and I are 18 months apart, and then I've got 2 younger brothers. But my mom, had that first child out of the house, and she was like, always there to meet me at the door. And I was like, Mom, you got to get a life. I can't do it for you. And she was like, fine. And she went to nursing school.
Wow.
I think she was older than me at the time. Like she could have started at 45 even.
Yeah, like later in her
Later
40s.
in life.
Wow.
So she became a nurse later. She is 79 years old. And she finally has just retired. Like except she kept going to work even after her retirement party. So she's a research nurse. And she's just always been that example to that. So she's gotten a couple degrees after.
That's really awesome. Yeah.
And so she didn't even blink an eye.
Yeah.
When I was like, this is what I'm going to do. She's like, yes, you are.
What is your advice to women that are trying to figure out, maybe it is the empty nest, like I know I've been through recently or so many of our listeners and stuff, but you're kind of thinking, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to, go play tennis, or who has a bunko night or whatever.
Right.
But as far as like, it's never too late. I mean, to figure out like what's next for you, know?
Exactly. That is, it's not too late to start something. Like, as I said, like if I'm almost 50, but if I was like, go to law school, 4 years, okay. In 4 years, you're doing it. So it was, and kids have a way of keeping you humble.
For sure.
I feel like my story is, it's never too late. And my kids will be like, I don't want to be 49 and not know what I want to do with my life. I'm like, way to switch it on me. Thanks. I was like, but no, the point is you can start over. It is not too late. And I feel like my life has started. Like, second half is almost better than the first.
Oh, I love that.
I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, let's start over. So it's really fun. And I've started over again. I'm now working. I'm still an attorney, but I'm on the other side, trust investor at Pinnacle. So I started over again. I think, which is so funny as I'm like telling you, and it sounds like I'm like always like an adventure. What's the next challenge?
That's my next question.
Which I would tell you, no, I just do the next thing. And it's been for my kids. And I think there's a lot of women out there that have given their lives to their kids.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then they find them gone and they're saying, what now? And I feel like that's a door opening.
Yeah.
That's freedom. But
because I think so many women put their identity, which I'm
that's
certainly guilty of, my
true.
identity is in my role as Cooper and Connor's mom, that like that's how I position everything.
Yes.
And then when it's like, okay, I'm still that. It's still my greatest honor, my greatest privilege. But okay, what about me? What about, they're not necessarily needing you every day, or I don't know, the world just changes.
It does.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
so true. It's still hard. But for me, that decision happened when I chose law school.
Mm-hmm.
And nights my kids were young and old enough to take care of themselves, but still I'd come home at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And my son would always still be awake, and he'd be like 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I would call him on the way home. I'm like, you need to be asleep. Don't make me guilty. You need to be asleep. And
well,
he'd be
I bet
like,
they're
"I'm
so
fine."
proud of you, your kids.
Yeah, but it was also that not always available because
Mm-hmm.
I'm studying and having to how to make this, but like I'm making these decisions because it's better for you and for me.
Right.
So we really feel like we grew up together.
Yeah.
It was a lot of give and take with that. So you're right, it is hard. How do you start over and find something?
Yeah.
And find a new identity?
But you can do
Scary.
it. Yeah, but you can do
can
it.
so
Yeah,
do it.
you can so do it.
And once you do a little thing,
Yeah.
and then just make yourself available and to say yes.
Right.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then you can do things like be on Survivor. Like you start doing it, and that's a mindset of no, I'm gonna do the next thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the next
Yeah.
thing. So that's
So is life seem boring these days? Or
no,
are you looking
I
for the
keep
next
myself-
challenge?
I talked with my brother yesterday in the morning, and he's like, "How are you?" I said, "Overcommitted, stressed, lack of sleep, working really busy." And he goes, "Oh, so you're good?" And I was like, "Yeah, so I'm
It's
good."
just typical
that's
life
what
for
I'm
me, yeah.
I finally accepted that that's who I am.
Yeah.
And then I gave myself grace for that because I'm like, I'm tired of trying to be like work-life balance, this, and I'm like, wait, what if I like to be overcommitted and stressed out?
I feel that so much. Yeah.
So now that I'm like,
Yeah.
well, if that's what I like,
yeah.
then so I'm still the same. I'm still running around trying to meet needs, but now I've taken that extra guilt off.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
yeah, so now I'm like, I'm going to do all those things and not be guilty.
So good. Tucker's getting very excited about as he looks out the window. So anyway, we're going to wrap up here, but it was so awesome just to meet you, hear more about your story. And so tell me what's next for you, just in general,
That is such a good question.
Okay.
I think what's next is I'm just going to say yes.
just be a yes person.
There's always so much, and if your bucket gets filled, then you're like, hey, that's fabulous. I have filled my bucket. So I don't know yet.
Did that experience make you want to travel more, to see more of the world? Because you went way far away,
Right.
crazy.
That is true. Right now, I still am close with my castmates.
Oh, good.
Yes. So they keep me on my toes. And I'm going to go and watch the season 46 premiere with a lot of them.
Oh,
so
that's
we will
gonna be
have a
fun.
reunion. So them alone, which is really what's funny because I'm friends with my friends from high school and I do my thing and I'm such a homebody.
Yeah.
I really am a homebody. The fact that I even did Survivor is mind blowing. And it makes me look like I'm adventurous and I do things,
Yeah.
which I'm not. But it has now opened this door and I now have all of these friends that live all over
Yeah.
that I'm going to say yes to.
Yeah, I bet the
So-
relationships, the friendships, all of that is probably the best takeaway from the whole thing.
It is, and we're of all different ages and all different places, but yet we are trauma bonded.
You are. Y'all may have needed some therapy afterwards, but
Absolutely. So we get together and work out our issues, but it's another family.
Yeah.
And it's a real gift.
that is really awesome. So, okay, let's look 10 years ahead. If they bring back former cast members, some of the favorites, and they're like, we got to have Mama J on, would you do it?
Such a good question. If we go 10 years, I'm 59 at that point.
Yeah, you are.
So I will see if I can still lift my arms and move. I think now that I know how physically demanding it would be, I would have to. Although I don't think you have to be a physical beast.
Did you train in any way? Was there?
I worked out a lot.
Okay.
Yes, I do
Okay.
Orange Theory.
More to
so
make yourself strong.
It was to be strong, and then I also run with my dog. So, which is why endurance-wise, I did. It
So
doesn't
well.
look like it, but like when I'm running on the beach, like the lactic acid had already built up when you take your first couple steps. But I'm like, okay, I can run through this. I'm gonna be slow, but I'm gonna do it. So I definitely, and I have not done much of that since I've been home. It has been a lot of not eating worms, eating whatever is in front of me, and not working out. So I'm getting back into
into a little routine.
So I do think that there's a little bit. I want to stay a little bit in shape if I.
Well, you never
went
know
back.
what casting call might be coming your way, so you need to be ready for sure.
It's nice to have a goal.
Yeah.
So if there's like that possible goal out there, it's a reason to wake up at 5 a.m. so you get your workout in.
There you go.
You need the goals. Yes.
So fun. Thanks so much, Julie. This was fun.
So fun. It was an honor. It really was.
I love
I'm
it.
delighted to be here.